Every story we pull from the briefcase has weight. Some carry the weight of tragedy, others the weight of history. But tonight's story, it has a physical weight that is almost incomprehensible. Imagine a book. Not the kind you hold in your hands to read before sleep. Imagine a book that is 3 feet tall and almost 20 inches wide. A book that weighs 165 pounds. It takes 2 strong people just to lift it. It is composed of 310 parchment leaves. Historians estimate that to create the pages alone, 160 donkeys had to be slaughtered and their skins prepared. It is the largest surviving medieval manuscript in the world. It is officially known as the Codex Gigas, the giant book. But for centuries, the world has known it by a different name, a name whispered in fear by the monks who guarded it. They call it the Devil's Bible. Why the Devil's Bible? To answer that, we have to go back to the Kingdom of Bohemia, modern-day Czech Republic, in the early 13th century. Specifically to a Benedictine monastery in the small town of Podlažice. According to the legend that has surrounded this book for 800 years, there was a monk in this monastery who broke his vows. The legends aren't clear on what he did. Some say greed, some say flesh. But his sin was heinous enough that the abbot sentenced him to the ultimate punishment. He was to be walled up alive. Terrified of a slow death in total darkness, the monk begged for mercy. In a desperate attempt to save his life, he made an impossible promise. He told the abbot that if his life was spared, he would create a book that would glorify the monastery forever. He promised to write a codex containing the sum of all human knowledge, and he promised to finish it in a single night. The abbot, perhaps amused by the impossible claim, agreed. He gave the monk until sunrise. The monk began to write. He wrote feverishly, dipping his quill, scratching ink onto vellum. Hour after hour passed, but as midnight approached, the monk realized the futility of his task. He hadn't even made a dent. The mortar was already being mixed for his tomb. In the dead of night, overcome with terror and despair, the monk stopped praying to God. He called out for help from the other side. He offered a trade to Lucifer, his immortal soul, in exchange for the power to finish the book before dawn. The legend says the devil answered the call. The pact was sealed. The devil himself took up the quill. With supernatural speed, he completed the massive tome just as the first rays of the sun hit the monastery window. The monk was saved from being walled up alive, but he was doomed for eternity. That is the legend. It's a magnificent piece of Gothic horror. But what about the physical object? What is actually in a book allegedly written by Satan? It's a strange collection. It contains the complete Latin Vulgate Bible. It contains historical accounts of the Jewish people by Josephus. It has medical treatises from Greece and Rome. But then the content shifts. It begins to contain instructions for exorcisms, magic spells, cures for demonic possession. It is a bizarre blend of the holy and the occult. And then you turn to page 504. This is why the legend endures. On a blank page, suddenly there is a massive full-page illustration, nearly 50 centimeters tall. It is a portrait of the devil. He is depicted as a squat green beast with 2 long red tongues licking out from a fanged mouth. He has large claws and horns tipped with red. He looks almost playful, like he's mocking the holy text that surrounds him. It is believed to be the only medieval Bible in existence that features a full-page portrait of Satan. Opposite the devil, on the facing page, is an illustration of the heavenly city of Jerusalem. It was common in medieval theology to contrast good and evil. But the sheer size of the devil, his prominence, is unsettling. Some say the monk or the devil drew it as a signature, a mark of ownership. For centuries, the legend of the single knight was accepted as fact. How else could such a thing exist? But in modern times, we have subjected the Devil's Bible to rigorous forensic analysis, and the scientific truth that emerged is, in my opinion, almost as terrifying as the legend. Paleographers, experts in ancient handwriting, have studied the Codex Gigas closely. They looked for signs of fatigue. They looked for changes in style that would indicate years passing or different scribes taking over the work. They found nothing. The handwriting in the Codex Gigas is unbelievably consistent. From the very first page to the very last, the style, the pressure of the ink, the angle of the quill, it never changes. It appears to be the work of one person. But here is the staggering part. National Geographic attempted to recreate the writing process. They estimated that if one scribe worked 6 hours a day, 6 days a week, doing nothing but writing, not including the time to rule the lines or paint the illustrations, it would take them 20 years to finish. Even if they wrote non-stop, 24 hours a day, it would take 5 years. Science tells us one man likely wrote it. Logic tells us it should have taken a lifetime. So if not the devil, then what? We are left with the image of a lone monk, perhaps indeed doing penance for a terrible sin, a man possessed not by a demon, but by a singular, obsessive, overwhelming focus that sustained him for decades. A man who slowly erased his own identity, pouring his entire life into these giant pages, maintaining a consistency that seems inhuman. Was it devotion, or was it madness? Like many cursed objects, the Codex Gigas did not bring happiness to its owners. The monastery at Podlajice went bankrupt shortly after its creation. The book was sold off. It eventually found its way to Prague, into the bizarre collection of Emperor Rudolf II, a ruler obsessed with the occult. Then came the 30 Years' War in 1648. The Swedish army sacked Prague. They took the Devil's Bible as war booty. It was taken to Stockholm. In 1697, a massive fire broke out in the royal castle where it was kept. The fire was intense. To save the giant book, it was reportedly thrown out of a high window. The legend says it landed on a person standing below, severely injuring them. Even in being saved, the Devil's Book supposedly drew blood. Today, the Codex Gigas rests in the National Library of Sweden in Stockholm. You can go see it. It sits behind thick glass in a dimly lit room. It is a breathtaking artifact, but when you stand before it, you don't feel the presence of God. You feel the sheer, crushing weight of the effort it took to create it. We will never know the name of the monk who wrote it. We only know his legacy, a book too big for a human to write, featuring a smiling devil hidden among the words of God. Whether it was written in a night by Lucifer or over a lifetime by a deeply troubled soul, the result is the same, a mystery that outlived its creator by 800 years. Thanks for joining me by the fire. Subscribe to Briefcase Story so you don't miss what I pull out next week. Stay curious, and try not to make any deals in the dark.